You know that saying, truth is stranger than fiction? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into 8 shocking facts that sound totally made up, but are 100% real. Our world is a curious place, brimming with wonder and the unexpected. History, nature, even the very fabric of reality itself, all hold secrets that defy our expectations. From time-bending history to the shortest war ever recorded, this list will blow your mind. Now, picture ancient Egypt, the land of pharaohs and pyramids. Most people think of Cleopatra and the pyramids as part of the same era. But the reality is shocking. Cleopatra ruled Egypt in 69 BCE. The pyramids were built over 2,500 years earlier. In fact, she lived closer to us here in the 21st century than she did to the pyramid builders. Imagine that, the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt was closer in time to witnessing Neil Armstrong's first steps on the moon than the construction of those iconic pyramids. It's a stark reminder of the vastness of time and the ebb and flow of civilizations. Egypt, once the dominant force in the ancient world, was now under the sway of Rome. Cleopatra herself, the last of the Ptolemaic dynasty, fought fiercely to maintain her grip on power and preserve her kingdom's independence. Her story, a tapestry of political intrigue, love affairs, and ultimately tragedy, has captivated historians and storytellers for millennia. Napoleon Bonaparte, the legendary military strategist, the emperor who conquered much of Europe, was once defeated by an army of rabbits. Yes, you heard that right, rabbits. Picture the scene. It's 1807. Napoleon, fresh off a string of military victories, decides to celebrate with a grand rabbit hunt. Hundreds of rabbits are brought in for the occasion, ready to be released and hunted down. But these were no ordinary rabbits. These rabbits, you see, were tame, bred for their meat and fur, accustomed to humans. As the cages are opened and the rabbits are released, a strange thing happens. Instead of scattering in fear, the rabbits charge. Hundreds of them, hopping and swarming towards Napoleon and his men. The hunters, caught off guard, are thrown into disarray, the mighty Napoleon forced to retreat in the face of this fluffy onslaught. The rabbits, victorious, hop back to their burrows, leaving behind a bewildered emperor and his equally bewildered men. Now, let's travel back in time to the hallowed halls of academia. Oxford University, with its dreaming spires and centuries of history, is often seen as the epitome of an ancient institution. But did you know that it's actually older than the Aztec Empire? Oxford, with its roots in the 11th century, predates the founding of the Aztec capital, Tenochtitlan, by over 200 years. Imagine students were already attending lectures at Oxford, while the Aztecs were still establishing their empire in the Valley of Mexico. Oxford, throughout its long history, has been a crucible of intellectual thought, producing some of the world's most influential thinkers, writers, and leaders. From its humble beginnings as a small gathering of scholars, Oxford grew to become one of the most prestigious universities in Europe. The Aztec Empire, on the other hand, rose to prominence in the 14th century, establishing a powerful and sophisticated civilization in Mesoamerica. So, while Oxford might seem like a world away from the temples and pyramids of the Aztecs, their timelines intersect, a reminder that history is not always linear. The 38-minute war. War, a word that evokes images of prolonged conflict, of battles fought over years, even decades. But what if I told you that the shortest war in recorded history lasted a mere 38 minutes? In 1896, a conflict erupted between Britain and Zanzibar, an island nation off the coast of East Africa. The cause? A dispute over the succession of the Zanzibari Sultan. The British, who favored a different candidate for the throne, issued an ultimatum to the newly installed Sultan demanding his abdication. The Sultan, perhaps overestimating his forces, refused. At precisely 9 a.m. on August 27, 1896, the British fleet, anchored in Zanzibar harbour, opened fire on the Sultan's palace. The bombardment, though brief, was devastatingly effective. Within 38 minutes, the Sultan's flag was lowered and a ceasefire was declared. The Anglo-Zanzibar War, despite its brevity, had lasting consequences for Zanzibar, solidifying British control over the island and shaping its destiny for decades to come. the loudest sound ever recorded. Sound, the vibration of air molecules, is something we often take for granted. But have you ever stopped to consider the sheer power of sound? The loudest sound ever recorded on Earth was not the roar of a rocket launch nor the detonation of a nuclear bomb, but the eruption of a volcano. In 1883, Krakatoa, a volcanic island in Indonesia, erupted with cataclysmic force. The explosion, estimated to be equivalent to 10,000 times the power of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, was heard thousands of miles away. The sound was so loud, it ruptured eardrums over 40 miles away, and was reportedly heard by people over 3,000 miles from the eruption site. The pressure wave from the explosion circled the globe 7 times, and the atmospheric disturbance it created caused barometric readings to spike around the world. Tsunamis, triggered by the eruption, devastated coastal communities thousands of miles away, killing tens of thousands of people. The eruption also had a profound impact on the global climate, causing a volcanic winter, lowering global temperatures for several years. Even today, over a century later, the eruption of Krakatoa serves as a reminder of the awesome power of nature, a force that can both create and destroy on a scale that defies human comprehension. Humanity in a sugar cube? The human body, a complex and intricate machine, is made up of trillions of cells. But have you ever considered what those cells are made of? At their core, it's atoms, the fundamental building blocks of matter. And atoms, it turns out, are mostly empty space. Imagine, if you will, shrinking yourself down to the size of an atom. You'd find yourself in a strange and unfamiliar world, a vast emptiness punctuated by tiny specks of matter. The nucleus, the heart of the atom, would be a distant speck, orbited by even tinier electrons, like planets around a sun. Now, imagine taking all the atoms that make up every human being on Earth, all 8 billion of us, and removing all that empty space. What would be left? A tiny speck of matter, no larger than a sugar cube. The very building blocks of our existence are mostly empty space, held together by forces we are only beginning to understand. The next time you look at your hand or feel the weight of your body, remember you're looking at mostly empty space. The Eiffel Tower, a summer growth spurt. The Eiffel Tower, that iconic symbol of Paris, is a marvel of engineering. But did you know that it actually changes size depending on the temperature? During the hot summer months, the tower can grow up to 6 inches taller. It all comes down to a phenomenon known as thermal expansion. When materials are heated, their molecules move faster and spread out, causing the material to expand. Conversely, when materials are cooled, their molecules slow down and contract, causing the material to shrink. The Eiffel Tower, made primarily of iron, is no exception to this rule. On a hot summer day, the iron latticework of the tower can heat up significantly, causing it to expand. This expansion, though small in relation to the tower's overall size, is enough to make a noticeable difference. Imagine, if you will, the Eiffel Tower as a giant thermometer, its height fluctuating with the temperature. The Dancing Plague of 1518. Imagine a scene straight out of a medieval tapestry. The streets of Strasbourg, a bustling city in what is now France, filled with people dancing and dancing and dancing, not for pleasure, not for celebration, but as if compelled by an unseen force. This was the Dancing Plague of 1518, one of the strangest and most baffling events in human history. It began in July of that year when a woman named Frau Trophäa stepped into the street and began to dance. She danced for hours, days even, without rest or respite. Soon others joined her, their bodies seemingly taken over by an irresistible urge to move. Within weeks, dozens of people were caught in the grip of this strange affliction, their movements growing increasingly erratic and uncontrolled. Some danced until they collapsed from exhaustion, their bodies racked with pain. A few even died from heart attacks or strokes, their final moments spent in a frenzy of involuntary motion. Physicians were baffled. They could find no physical cause for the dancing mania. One theory suggests that the dancing plague was a form of mass psychogenic illness, also known as mass hysteria. Another theory posits that the dancing was caused by ergot poisoning, a fungus that can grow on rye and other grains, producing a toxin that can cause hallucinations and convulsions. Pretty wild, right? From a 38-minute war to a dancing plague, our world is full of surprises. Which one of these facts surprised you the most? Drop a comment below. I want to hear what blew your mind. Did you know about Cleopatra's surprising place in the timeline? Or perhaps the tale of Napoleon's fluffy foes? Let's keep the conversation going. And hey, if you love learning crazy facts like these, hit that subscribe button and stay curious. There's a whole universe of fascinating and unbelievable truths out there waiting to be discovered.